Welcome back to the Nature Repair and Climate Adaptation stream. We've got our second last speakers, which is very exciting. We've got Bridget, Kent and Fiona Berry from the North Coast Regional Landcare Network presenting on caring for catchments, scaling knowledge, culture and catchment resilience. Welcome up.
Where's the clicker? Just the arrow. Yep. Hi everyone. I'm Bridget Kent. I am the Regional Project Operations Manager for North Coast Regional Landcare Network. Nice to see you all today. I would like to acknowledge the Kombumberi people, the clan of the Yungabar people of the Gold Coast, and thank you for the welcome yesterday, and it's great to be here. The North Coast of New South Wales is a diverse region stretching from the Tweed at the Queensland border, very close to here, to Port Macquarie on the mid-north coast. It includes 9 major river systems, extensive floodplains, estuaries, with landscapes ranging from beaches and coastal plains to hinterland hills and volcanic plateaus. The region is home to nationally recognised biodiversity. Thank you. And World Heritage listed rainforests, while also supporting key industries including beef, dairy, sugar and horticulture. Aboriginal people remain central as cultural custodians and major landholders with enduring connection to country. Established in 2009, the North Coast Regional Landcare Network is an independent not-for-profit representing 11 member networks, over 200 landcare groups and thousands of members, providing leadership, advocacy, governance and a united regional voice. Our focus is undertaking regional scale projects, developing partnerships and building organisational capacity. We support sustainable agriculture, natural resource management and environmental stewardship across 300 million hectares on the North Coast. As we look ahead, we invite collaborations and partnerships to strive forward towards shared goals for resilient communities, thriving landscapes and a sustainable future. Before I hand over to Fiona, who is the Project Officer for Caring for Catchments, I will also acknowledge other members of our team. Rebecca Watsford is sitting down there, is our Executive Support Officer. And also Chris Savadio is our Project Software Specialist. He is on leave, lucky guy. And also a big shout out to Jim Kincaid down the back, who's our Vice Chair, who's also on our Project Control Group for Caring for Catchments and has been supporting us all the way through. So I'll hand to Fiona.
Thanks, Bridget. Thanks everyone for coming along. I realise we're the second last session of the conference, so I'm surprised there's so many people in here. Hopefully you had enough caffeine during afternoon tea to get through this. I've got a lot of content, so get ready. So about caring for catchments. CFC is a first of its kind, large-scale, multi-year nature-based solutions project that aims to improve catchment health, build flood resilience and enhance biodiversity through riparian, revegetation and reforestation. So Caring for Catchments came about when North Coast Landcare was awarded $5.4 million from the Emergency Response Fund at a federal level and through the 2022-23 Northern Rivers Recovery and Resilience Program. The original grant was actually authored by a Landcare group in our region called Wilson's River Landcare, and I'm very grateful for their amazing project design and have the lucky role of delivering their vision through this project. So the project's administered through the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority and involves 35 projects across 4 catchments of the Clarence, as you can see on the map, the Clarence, the Tweed, Richmond and Brunswick catchments. So we have 28 on-ground projects 6 education projects and 2 that are combined education and on-ground. The focus of Caring for Catchments is a pilot project, so there's no perfect approach to nature restoration, as many of you will know. So we're trialling many different approaches and documenting the lessons that we're learning. So Caring for Catchments is a 4-year project which commenced in December 2023. There was a rigorous expression of interest process in 2024 to give an idea for the demand for funding in this region for these kinds of projects. We received 199 applications valued at $16.2 million. And 35 projects were awarded. The projects are now underway in 2025, the projects are running through to 2027. And along the way, we've engaged with other nature-based projects. You may have heard Louisa Rogers speaking on the Richmond Landcare Nature-Based Solutions project, and other stakeholders to build alignments and collaborations. We're also utilising software to create a solution for mapping the projects and their progress. So CFC has 5 key goals: demonstration, sharing of information, education and training, cultural change and social cohesion, and a focus on environmental markets. And I'll step through each of these as I present. So our activities with our on-ground projects include a range of nature-based solutions in flood-impacted catchments. So we're planting native trees and shrubs along waterways to improve water quality, stabilise those riverbanks and enhance habitat for wildlife, which includes fencing of riparian areas from cattle and providing off-stream watering points. We're also doing a lot of weed management and eradication of exotic species. Our projects also include wetland restoration, water retention and landscape rehydration through approaches such as leaky weirs. We also have education projects, delivering knowledge sharing and community engagement to promote awareness about riparian restoration, flood resilience and environmental markets within the targeted catchments. Our Caring for Catchments team, as Bridget said, also has the wonderful Chris, who is our project software specialist, who's working on creating replicable and scalable systems utilising innovations in technology and data management. So what's our progress? Well, to date we've had tremendous progress with 34 projects almost halfway complete, over 14 kilometres of riverbank restored, 45 hectares revegetated, over 54,000 trees and sedges in the ground, almost 1,500 people educated, informed or trained, and we've delivered over 30 events. So stepping through our goals and how we're working towards them. So our first goal is to demonstrate best practice for riparian restoration. We've quickly found across 4 catchments and 35 projects, this is very place-based and contextual. Dependent on environmental conditions, the location of the projects in the catchments, experiences of project managers and contractors, weather, of course, land tenure, and of course, relationships. An example of the diversity of our sites, we have on the left is the upper catchment. We've got a fairly good water quality, but quite severe scouring of the riverbank there and some vegetation. And on the right is a larger river in the lower catchment, obviously severely affected by flooding. So each site, we've realised, needs a different approach, and it really does depend on a lot of factors. So our goal is to demonstrate best practice with a focus on restoring catchment health and resilience. So we all know resilience is about ecological resilience through the tree plantings to restore riverbanks and mitigate the impacts of the next big flood. But we've also realised that resilience is about skilled and experienced project managers and their adaptive management. So as you can see, here's our number of trees being planted over the course of this year, sort of starting in March, April, I think it is. And as you can see, we've weathered a tropical cyclone in the region, and we've continued to plant trees, and also through some of the highest rainfall in 20 years in part of the Richmond catchment. So that's testament to the resilience of these amazing grantees and project managers and contractors. Another indicator of catchment health is biodiversity. We've had some great biodiversity wins. On one site, we discovered an endangered pink underwing moth caterpillar instar, which is really a positive sign of recovery of this species. Isn't it beautiful? And its habitat, which is being planted on many of our Caring for Catchment site, which is the Coronia vine. So our second goal of sharing information is really to plan and scale riparian and catchment projects. So this is driven by innovation in systems of data collection project management. So Chris, our software specialist, has really built from scratch some incredible systems and used a range of software to create scalability and efficiency. So our main data set and home base is the Monday.com enterprise. We use it to track projects and their progress towards milestones, track financial aspects of projects, and we also use it as a communication tool. So Monday.com enables us to report across projects and portfolios, combined and track using dashboards, automations, and notifications. So it allows us to get a lot done with our lean team. Being a not-for-profit, we also leveraged reduced pricing on the software, which was a real bonus. And we've been upskilling grantees and other Landcare groups in our network to use the software through informal training. So ArcGIS Pro and Online have been our spatial mapping tools. We use them to map and track every project from its application right through to its completion. So we collect on-ground data and create interactive maps and dashboards, and it allows us to integrate with our Monday.com software as well, and used instant apps to interact with users in the public sphere while protecting the privacy of our sites. And we also have a story map function within ArcGIS, which allows us to share stories of catchment restoration work in ways that are easy to explore and understand. So an example of how we use our mapping and spatial tools. You can see some of our projects listed on the left there, and you can see our site with the property boundaries and the Caring for Catchment site area. We can overlay GIS layers for hydrology, topography, vegetation, and more. And you might be able to see those tiny small flag icons on the site, which is where we're using the Survey 123 software to take photo points at different stages of the projects. So our grantees use their mobile phones and the Survey 123 app to collect photos and capture the area of works over points in time. So this is one of our sites with a photo taken in January, and then the same photo point in May where you can see significant weed management and some tree planting happening. It also allows us to capture areas of interest like off-stream watering points and fencing that are going in. So how do we get this information to people? We have a suite of digital tools that integrate with Monday.com. We use JotForm as an online form builder for funding applications and milestone reporting, surveys and feedback forms. We use MailChimp for grantee communication. We send out newsletters to our grantees and provide announcements. We also have a project website. Feel free to jump on and take a look with updates, materials, resources and statistics. We're experimenting with AI for data collection and efficiency of data management. But the beauty of this is that a lot of these tools and systems are integrated to allow us to work efficiently and remove a paper trail. So our third goal of education and training is to really identify opportunities in repair and regeneration of the regional environment through training and educating stakeholders. So our 8 targeted education projects are well underway. There's our grantees on the left. They meet once every 6 months for peer-to-peer learning. We've got a meeting coming up in a few weeks. Some examples of our other education and training projects. We have Richmond Landcare who have presented, and I'm not sure if anyone's here from Richmond Landcare, but they're delivering a Catchment Carers project, which is workshops with over 12 schools in the Richmond Catchment, engaging future generations. They've done dance and art workshops with traditional owners, catchment health workshops on water bug testing and tree planting. And we also have, very proud to have an Aboriginal-led grantee. This is Amarina, who runs the Aboriginal Artist Run Initiative. Costa said earlier on in the conference that you get to the heart through art, and so we're really excited to have Amarita leading a First Nations-led project which is documenting the oral history of Indigenous people and their pre- and post-colonisation experiences of river systems. And that's really about preserving Indigenous knowledge and promoting ecological sustainability for future generations. There's so many projects, so there's more to come. We have Richmond Riverkeeper, one of our amazing grantees. They're actually developed a podcast called We Are the Riverkeepers. I highly recommend you check it out. Some incredibly powerful stories and interviews. And they are delivering the upcoming Riverfest, which is a month-long festival in the Richmond Catchment. It actually kicks off this Sunday in Ballina. So we're really excited to be part of that. We'll be delivering a panel as part of Caring for Catchments for that as well. Some other examples of training and building skills in riparian restoration and catchment health. One of our grantees has partnered with Mulloon Institute on a landscape rehydration field day and used their CFC site as a living lab for demonstrating leaky weirs. Richmond Landcare have also just recently delivered a cultural connections project, which one of the events was a Plants of Cultural Significance workshop. They're also doing a Sites of Cultural Significance workshop. And then we have our grantee down in the Clarence catchment at Chaffin Creek Farm, who are restoring Chaffin Creek on their property with weed management and tree planting, but they're also delivering workshops around regenerative agriculture, including biodynamics and syntropics. So CFC achieves our fourth goal of cultural change and building social cohesion really through our diverse stakeholder base. So we have, as you can see, a diversity of private landholders as well as our wonderful Landcare groups. You may see some of our, we've got one CFC grantee here. I could see Joe in the audience, but there may be others. You need to find them and talk to them about their projects because they're very exciting. We also have community groups, Aboriginal-led enterprises, and even local government. And as you can see here, we're spanning across 6 local government areas, so it's a diversity of institutional capacities and policies that we're spanning across, which is really the strength of our project. So with all the bad news that comes to us on the daily, as Landcare and through Caring for Catchments, we're passionate about building social cohesion and optimism in this space. What we've found is our ground truthing visits to all of our project sites with our grantees are just really empowering conversations for the grantee and also for us as we learn about opportunities and constraints of their site, and we learn about the extensive social networks that they use to support what they're doing. We've also got an exciting project in Tweed, which involved not only Tweed Council, but also the wonderful Tweed Landcare group. So there was a National Tree Planting Day event at Byangum, where 1,500 trees went in the ground. It was also featured on NBN News. Bridget got the lucky task of being interviewed on the news, as you can see. And we also love hearing from our grantees on their Caring for Catchments milestones, but also their personal milestones. On one of our sites, there was extremely thick lantana that was removed with a forestry mulcher. This is what was uncovered, an incredible swamp box tree, which is hundreds of years old, and our grantee actually ended up getting married under this tree. So we're also really excited to explore ways to visually demonstrate social cohesion through network mapping. What you're seeing here is the Northern Rivers Adapt project. Griffith University, with funding from the National Environmental Science Program, have been mapping networks of conservation groups to contribute to climate adaptation planning, and using this Kumu tool as like a visual tool to really show those social networks. So we're excited to explore a potential partnership with Griffith for postgraduate studies into the social network mapping of our Caring for Catchments project. So it really shows the social capital that comes from these kinds of projects and the building of resilience during the disasters that happen in our region. I'll hand over to Bridget to talk through the 5th goal.
Thanks, Thanks, Fiona. So just to recap Goal 5, building capacity to utilise and benefit from markets for environmental services by providing education for land managers about those services. So the first port of call was an exploration. We engaged Megan Burkett from the National Capital and Environmental Markets Initiative to convene a 6-month working group of stakeholders, land managers and experts to co-design and develop an education program. We now have that in hand. The vision is to build a thriving natural capital and environmental markets industry on the New South Wales North Coast. The purpose to equip diverse stakeholders with confidence and capacity to participate in those markets. Why it matters, because it supports overall project goals and also supports supported by a lot of what we've seen today, supports overall Landcare goals to be an seen as an educator in this space. The objective is to educate stakeholders, build capacity, collaboration and innovation, and support knowledge sharing to grow locally relevant environmental markets. So expected outcomes in the short term within the scope of the CFC project is increased knowledge, confidence and participation. In the medium term, up to 10 years, is greater leadership, collaboration, advocacy and innovation. And the long term, up to 20 years, is thriving markets, stronger returns and measurable gains. The program structure is, and you can see the 5 stages of learning on the right side of the screen. The program structure is a 12-month learning and industry activation group / consortium, progressing through 5 learning stages, culminating in a regional forum and a co-designed 10-year roadmap. So that is all before us over the next 12 months. Then moving on to future scope for this project. We're mid-project, we have a couple of years to run. We're developing a dynamic workshop series to harness stakeholder expertise, co-design with grantees to strengthen social and landscape connections. As Fiona mentioned, we're doing a panel for the Riverkeeper Festival as one of those workshops. That's coming up soon. And our upcoming education grantee workshop as well. Expand opportunities for First Nations youth through targeted education, training and mentoring. And as you can see, we're well on the way to creating robust surveys and tools to measure impact, showcase social cohesion and resilience. Rolling out the environmental markets education program, and importantly leveraging capacity and expertise for caring for catchments to drive fresh funding streams and strategic partnerships. A takeaway for us is all in this photo here, which was a recent field day in Yilgarn. That's the landholder, Ryan, is there in the middle. And through this project, he was able to leverage an existing historic planting, riparian planting, to a new Caring for Catchments planting. And he's formed a Yilgarn Landcare group from the back of that. He's engaged expertise and he's created an optimistic environment in his little social world. So, yeah, I think we have time. Sorry? Oh, and also in partnership with Brunswick Valley Landcare. Thank you, Fiona. This is not working. Oh, there we go. So I think we've got time for one question, potentially.
Hello.
Hi.
Super interesting stuff. How do you find the transition of removing the paper trail and putting it in Monday.com And is that including like the MailChimp structures and the ArcGIS? How is that learning curve to like integrate data from like onto the platform?
Well, the first thing is that it helps to have a project software specialist who's not here today to answer your question. And if he was, he'd give a very eloquent answer. But yeah, there's a lot of connections with and integrations with Monday. The communication, using Monday as a communication tool with our grantees allows us to kind of connect in that way. We can kind of integrate the mapping in using links, and this is me just kind of winging it here.
Yeah.
But I'd be happy to connect you with Chris because he's very much across those linkages. But removing the paper trail, like, I can attest to the fact that it's been incredibly useful. Of course, we've had to upskill our grantees into Monday, and having Chris there has really helped. He sort of put them through some initial training to get them on board, and a lot of them have really embraced using that as a platform for uploading their information, their data, their reporting, and it just really allows us to then roll up all of that information and do very quick, efficient reporting and sharing of impact of what we're doing. So yeah, it's been great, especially for the email inbox, which is much reduced. So I'm a fan of that.
Thank you so much, Bridget and Fiona. Cheers.
Thank you.